Channel 10.
We used to be like CNN Channel 10. And we used to think that people would catch on.
You know,
but if you're not from Queens, if you don't got Time Warner or whatever, like, well, I didn't know that.
Do it, yo. Yo, word up, man. It's a different channel, son. Word up, on, man. Word up, watch the channel, son. Different plane now, man.
It's all good.
Word up, all good, baby, in every hood, son. Word up, yo.
CNN, Network, Channel 10. It's on again. Street niggas is grown men. Bold face, gat in your face. Stay in place, yo, crime lace. Cast more beef than Scarface. CNN, Network, Channel 10. It's on again. Street niggas that's grown men. Bold face, gat in your face. Stay in place, yo, crime lace.
The almighty ARR Tick in the building, and I'm alongside
Sing God Superior.
And today we have a very, very special episode with two dope producers. We have Kuro Silence and we have P Soul on the line. Say what's up to the people.
So good, people.
Everything is everything. Now we first heard about you guys from the Samurai Shin comic book soundtrack. So we just wanted to start off and ask, how that came about and how you guys linked up to be a part of that project. Kuro, you can go first.
The way I got into it was I was going through, listening to a couple of old tracks that I had done. And I was just thinking that I would like to work on a couple of shows. So I went on Facebook and I searched up a couple of different places. And I saw a couple of different startup comic books and different shows that were going on. And I was thinking about doing a soundtrack for them. So I hit up a couple of them. And none of them got back to me except for Samurai Shin. And ever since they got right back to me, it was just instant chemistry. I mean, it just clicked. We worked well together, and it's been like that since.
That's what's up. And you, P Soul?
Well, sure. He hit me up on. I think he actually sent me. I don't remember if it was an email first or if it was a DM. But I remember I got a message. He was like, "Yo, I'm working on this comic book soundtrack. Really like your beats. I want to know if you want to be a part of it." So I'm like, for me, I ain't never done like a comic book sound. I've never really done a soundtrack, period. But I'm like, I'm a fan of it. You know what I'm saying? I like to watch like some anime and stuff like that. I'm always hip to like Boondocks and stuff of that nature where it's got hip hop soundtracks. And so I've always been a fan of that. And so I'm like, you know what? This would be a dope idea. And so we kind of went back and forth, and he ended up picking a couple beats that he wanted to use for the soundtrack. And I was like, yo, this would be a really dope like sound for what you're working with. And then he sent me some samples of the comics that he had, and I was like, yo, this is actually super cool. Like, I definitely want to rock with this movement. So just been like a lot of communication back and forth. Just been building. So
that's what's up. And it's kind of interesting. Kuro, you were talking about you were looking for different shows to be a part of, and I guess do the soundtrack for, and that led to something that we were curious about earlier about just being a producer online, and like the types of things that you kind of do to get your music out there a bit more. So I was wondering, like, what led you to that strategy of actually seeking that out, because that's something that a lot of people probably wouldn't think of.
Well, honestly, it comes from just based on the fact that I'm not just a producer, I'm an artist. Mm-hmm. So I have to spread my work no matter what. When somebody comes up to you and says, oh, hey, listen to my mixtape, they're not gonna automatically want to listen to it because they're gonna have automatic assumptions in their heads. Mm-hmm. So you have to go out and you have to be active if you actually want to succeed. You can't just be sedentary in this type of work field. You can't just sit back and be like, oh, I'm making a rap. Oh, I'm writing a song. Oh, I'm making this beat, and expect the fans to come to you. You have to be a part of the community, and that's something I learned very, very early on, being with different groups and different collectives and things of that nature. So I learned that you can't just sit back and let it come to you. You have to go out and you have to actually actively find that, and that just increased my drive for it, and that really got me thinking. And because I'm an artist, I was thinking creatively. So, it just works. As long as you're paying attention to what you want to do and you know what you want to do in your head, you'll figure out some sort of plan for yourself.
And
Peace.
yeah, I was just going to ask because you have like a huge catalog of work online, and you sell beats online too, right, Peace Soul?
Yeah. So,
Yes.
I mean, my story is like, it's similar, but in a way it's like a little bit different. So, like, with me, it's not even like I've been, producing for a crazy long time or anything like that. I mean, I've always been hip to music, but I was an artist first, kind of similar to what he was saying. So I also started more doing poetry and spoken word and stuff like that, and I always I would try to avoid the rap thing because of like what he was saying about the stigma of like rappers and being like, oh, I'm a mixtape guy, like, yo, check my mixtape. So I was just kind of doing my own little thing, and then when I got to like my junior year of high school, I took this class on like production, and I fell in love with it. And I took two different years that I took it. It was like a one semester type of thing. But by the second year, it was like we had started using Logic or whatever. And the first day of class, I went home. I begged my mom. I was like, yo, I want to get this software. And so she got it for me. And since then, it was like consistent. Like I think it was like about a week or two into that class, I already had a beat that I made that I put up on my SoundCloud, and then I started doing that for a little bit, and then my homie told me about YouTube. He was like, yo, you should really start putting your beats on there. Like, that's a good way to make money. And I put that idea off for a while, and it was like a few months later, I was like, you know what, let me try this YouTube thing. Put a beat up, and it had like 30K hits like within a week, and I'm like, yo, I might have to do this for real. So it just I just got lucky, I guess. Like, it's just luck of the draw. I don't know. People gravitated towards it, and from there, it's just been like, this is what I want to do. Like, the production part is definitely where I'm at right now. But
that's the other big part. You really have to have good timing in the industry too. If you're not planning, if you don't have good timing, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, luckily for me, I was still catching on to the last little bit of a wave. Because right now, I mean, the YouTube production game, it's been kind of up and down. Like, 'cause I remember, like, way back when dudes like Candace Major were, like, running the YouTube production game. I used to write to his beats, you know what I mean? And then now, a lot of, like, the OG, like, beat leaser guys, they're not even around on YouTube as much as they were before. And it's just like, I don't know, it's up and down. Because it went through a dip for a while, and now you got dudes like Cash Money AP and dudes like Taz Taylor who are making that popular again. So
yeah, and
it's always up and down.
Well, I mean, the thing about it is it went to a more commercialized area. You look at like the crates, you look at Classics Beats, they're brands now. It's not just, you're that one dude making the beat. You're a whole corporation now, and you have to think about yourself as an artist like that. Because if you're not thinking in terms of a business, you're not going to make money if that's what you're trying to do, and you can't be in it to make money because the money's not always going to be there.
Exactly, it's always hit or miss. Just like any other business, it's peaks and it's valleys. Sometimes you pop in, sometimes you go through a slow phase of like 3 months and ain't nobody buying beats. So but as long as you keep hustling, that's always been my thing. Keep it about the music, the money will come.
Sometimes it's flatlands and the mountains.
I mean, that's something that's interesting too, because like, I didn't know, I guess it was as institutionalized as it is now. Like having like these OGs and like people who were there from the beginning and stuff like that. And then like what you just said, Kuro, certain people developing their own brands through YouTube production, which is like mad dope. But sticking on production, so like what's your setup looking like? I know you use like an MPC and like an ASR10, but like looking at your Periscope videos, like you got like quite a bit of shit going on. Like what else do you have? What's your equipment looking like?
Well, so let's see. I got the XL, the MPC 2000 XL. I got an ASR10 in my closet. I got a Moog Voyager. I got a Juno 6. Tons of records all over the place. And then as far as like sample source, like records all over the studio, I got a cassette player. I'll sample from that. every once in a while. I got a VCR in the closet that I just got to hook it up. I'm about to get a 404, SP404.
Nice.
Ideally, I want a MPC 3000 and a 1200. I want to screw around with those a little bit. But, I mean, I'm all around. And then, like, equipment-wise, like, I got, like, a drum set in the other room. I got bass that I'm starting to learn now, too. So I'm always trying to expand, man. Trying to teach myself everything. Like, I did go to college for, like, music and stuff like that. But after I was there for, I think, a good year and like a semester. But since the beginning, I was like, it's not for me. Like, I went there and I was like, the way that they were trying to teach and, like, just everything about it just didn't feel right. I was like, you know what? I'd rather just do everything myself and teach myself. So I ended up dropping out, buying some instruments, teaching myself, and I've been on the road since. So,
you know. And can you speak, like, a little bit about your effort to tune your beats to 432 hertz now?
Oh yeah, so I've heard about this theory about the 432 hertz thing. I don't remember exactly where I heard it from before, but I just know it's been around and I've seen little things pop up here and there. But I was on YouTube one day and I was listening to some Dilla Beat tapes, and there was one that he had. I thought the project was called Vintage. That's what my understanding was. But then everything that it was labeled at was like A equals 432 hertz. And I was like, wait, is this the actual name of the project? Like, so I was looking into it a little bit more, and that's pretty much what the whole project is. Like, all the beats on that project are tuned to 432 hertz. So I was like, you know what? Let me actually look into this and see what the big deal is about it. So I was looking into it, and it was saying about how, like, 432 hertz is like the frequency of the universe, and there's some theory about, like, after World War II, they started to militarize. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, they tried to change how people listen to music, and they tuned it like 8 hertz higher. And
to 440.
To 440. And just by doing that, it made everything it's a slight difference, but it affects so much about, like, what you're actually listening to. And then I haven't gotten too deep into it yet. I just kind of briefly skimmed it. But I read something about it says something about how when you're tuned to, like, 440 hertz, there's something that you hear called, like, the devil's interval or something like that you don't hear when you're at 432. And I'm just like, yo, this is deep. Like, it ran deep. So
that's the tritone.
It's like one of them tritones. And so I'm, like, still kind of looking into it a little bit. I haven't figured out how to do it just as yet on the XL. I know on the 3000 you should be able to, but you don't really tune by hertz. In the XL, you go by, like, little semitones, and so it's hard to get just the right number. But I know in Logic I can do it, and I'm trying to do it on, like, all the beats that I'm not using any sort of audio coming in, because you can't tune the audio to it, but you can tune, like, the sample instruments. And so that's what I'm about to start doing, trying to do something different. Which reminds me, I have, like, 2 beats that I just put out recently that I have to go back and tune now. But it's all good.
And
so that's,
my bad.
That's all good.
And Kuro, like, I was looking through, like, your Instagram and stuff like that, and I see that you use FL Studio. But what was interesting to me is that you also record through FL Studio, correct?
Kind of. I use it to mix.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Damn, yeah. So how's that process? Because me and Arctic were talking about, like, just recording through FL Studio and how he was trying to, like, get that set up the other day, and how complicated it can be at times. Like, I've never done that. So, like, what's that process like?
Well, I use a couple of different things to record.
Okay.
I never had. I'm very young, so I started very young, and I never really had, disposable income of any type. And I wasn't really the type of kid where I asked my parents for stuff like that. So I had to make what I had work. So I had an old mic that my dad used from when he was making music, and I used that, and I hooked that into my old iPhone, and I record through my iPhone and transfer it over into FL. And then I mix it in FL. And I use different programs to master. Right now, I'm busted down to a computer that I'm running Linux on, so I can only run FL10. And I'm not really able to go, really crazy with it. But what I lack in equipment, I still have in capability. I have to get ingenuitive with my process because I don't have a whole lot. So that just means that I have to find different workarounds and different things that help me manage to expand. I mean, I'm aware that, you can't just stick with one set, and that's not my plan. But for the moment, I have this one set, and I'm going to make it work as well as I can get it to work.
I mean, that's dope because, like, when you look at, I remember, and this is going to sound like way far off, but I remember being in like English class and we're talking about poetry and you're talking about like sonnets versus free verse, and like the sonnets sticks you to a specific format that you have to abide by, whereas free verse, you can just do anything. You have all the options available to you. And actually, it seems like the sonnet isn't necessarily creative because you're so limited, but that constraint just makes you so much more creative, just trying to fit what you want to do into that. So
it tells you exactly what rules you want to break.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's dope. And go ahead.
I was gonna say I could relate to that whole like situation of like having not exactly the right gear that you want, but having to make it work. Because for the longest time, I think up until this past like year and a half, I mean, I was finessing my gear too. Like I haven't even upgraded to Logic X yet. Like I have it now, but like before, I mean, I was using Logic X or Logic 9, and I was making beats off of like the musical typing. Like I didn't even have a MIDI keyboard yet. So a lot of the old beats that I have, I was using the keyboard on my actual computer. I didn't even have no monitors yet. I had my earbuds and I had no desk, so I was like sitting on my bed, hurting my back, trying to make the beats or like whatever. So it's been a long journey. So it's nice now that I'm like I can at least have more flexibility to be like, okay, this is the idea I have, let's make it happen. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm close. I'm closer than I was before. So
you always gotta keep moving forward. I mean, I feel the same way you do with my whole chop situation and my bass lines. My bass lines, I play them in through the virtual keyboard. Like I type everything. And as far as my chops, I can't really play my chops out on MPC because I don't have one. So what I do is I chop the song at certain specific places, and I arrange them whatever way I want.
Yeah, because I
use like the
noticed
actual audio files and arrange them.
What'd you say?
So you chop the actual audio files up and then just move them around that way.
Yeah,
that's dope.
I noticed
I've seen people do that too.
Yeah, because I noticed like how your sample is like tracked out all the way through and just with these different parts, which is mad interesting. Yeah,
it's a very long process, and it makes it a lot more difficult because you have to actually like listen to the certain specific points in the song rather than just taking a piece of the song and then chopping it up that way.
Yeah, you got to know what you're gonna chop before you chop it.
Because I mean, you have a lot of projects out. So like, how long does it normally take you, Kuro, to like finish an entire instrumental project?
Instrumental projects aren't exactly the hardest because I've got honestly close to 1,000 tracks as far as instrumentals go, and that is just a matter of what do I want the sound to sound like. So all of my projects are they follow a very specific concept, and so I look for the different songs that I have. I try and get different moods, and I try and evoke different feelings, and try and craft kind of like a soundtrack to life. So like Ab thought with that project, everything was kind of about you're in like this kind of relationship limbo where you and your partner are on and off, and it's kind of like you want to get back to them, but the feeling's not right, so you have to just accept the fact that it's over. And in and Can You See It, it was kind of like those same people getting together. All of my projects really follow a certain concept, and if you pay attention to the different titles and pay attention to the way I format it, you'll actually begin to understand where I'm going with it. It's a lot like Flying Lotus. If you pay attention to his last couple of projects, his what was it? I can't remember the name of the project right now, but his project, not his most recent one, the one 3 projects ago.
Like, was it Death or whichever one was called? It was a long time ago. It seems like
And if you notice, that one's the first one. The second one was Until the Quiet Comes. That was waiting until you're dead. So that was waiting for death, and then You're Dead is accepting the fact that you're dead. So if you look at that,
I just got that. Like,
yeah, he's actually a really big inspiration for me on that, because I remember a quote he has, and he went to film school but ended up getting into music, and so he tried to take that film approach to his music, and that inspired me to do the exact same thing with all of my projects. So if you'll notice with his, it's you're kind of in a bad state, you're not really in a good mindset, and then you have Until the Quiet Comes, where you're in this kind of like limbo, and you're waiting for death, and you're waiting to die, and you're kind of deteriorating, and then You're Dead is the acceptance of death. So that's how I try and approach all of my projects, because without that artistry, you don't really have art anymore. You know, you're just making something for the sake of making it, and not for the sake of continuing the art form and expanding it. And I think that's a really big problem that we have now. People want to just make stuff without even understanding why they're making it.
And you know,
there's got to be a reason for it.
It makes so much sense that you say you went to film school now, because that explains why all his beats, like the visuals behind them, are all so so creative and so out of the box now. I was always like, yo, his whole image is so far left field to anything else. So I'm like, it's got to be something. Like, why is that? You know? But that makes sense now, because he has that different approach that not everybody has. Not just like, oh, I'm going to try to be creative as a musician. It's like, nah, I'm going to try to be creative as like a director.
A person in general.
Exactly. From another perspective. So
now, I was thinking too, going off of what you were saying, Kuro, about the art, and then what P Soul was saying about the whole thing with the YouTube leasing. Does the business aspect of it, do you guys feel, or having to focus on that, does it take away from the artistry of what you guys are trying to do sometimes?
Never. Never does. Depending on who you are and depending on what you're doing, it can. But as long as you stay true to what you're trying to do, it won't. Some people I
guess for me it depends on like what do you mean by that though? Are you saying like it'll affect how I approach making the beats, or if it can get kind of complicated in the process of getting records done?
I mean, I guess on both aspects, because when you're trying to create a commercial product, a lot of times you might be churning things out at a rapid pace, and maybe you're making it just for that without like an artistic thought behind it. And then also too, with people like leasing the beats over and over again for maybe like a cheaper price, does that lessen like the value of the music as well, when it comes to actually making things and putting things out and trying to have like something behind it?
Well, that's the beautiful thing about leases. Leases don't really take away from your value, because you still own it. That's the thing. And a lot of people don't really understand the business behind it. And music is it's so readily available right now that a lot of people have actually missed that there's a whole system in place that people just don't understand. Some people think once you've sold an exclusive right to a beat means that artist owns the beat, and that's only half true. They have ownership of it as far as creative control. Like, you can't just You as the producer can't just go ahead and decide, oh, I want to change this. Here, I have to make this change. You have to give that back to me. No, you can't do that. But you still have rights to it in the fact that you produce that. That's still your product. And a lot of people miss that. But as far as your point, as the business side taking over the artistic side, with that, I would use the comparison of people like Drake versus people like Kendrick Lamar. If you look at Drake, he's very, very, very commercial. Everything is very much to please the people. It's a very pleasing sound. It's easy to listen to. You can go through his projects and not really have to pay too much attention. I have to put too much thought into it to actually feel it. But if you look at Kendrick Lamar, he puts a lot more thought into it. He doesn't really care too much about the commercial side, so it doesn't really affect his art that much. He still says what he wants to say. He still does what he wants to do as an artist.
That's what's up.
I could go that too, because I guess it can get tricky, because I'm kind of at that point in my career where I'm making a transition into I'm really making a heavy transition to the business side, because I've got a couple major placement situations going on. So now I'm really seeing how the industry works in full force. And so politics can really ruin a song, believe it or not. Exactly about how you were saying, things for the sake of, okay, well, they want this. Okay, for example, let's say this. Let's say that a TV company hits you up and they're like, yo, I want to take 10 beats from you, put them on TV spots, and whatever it is. In your mind, you get this dilemma, because it's okay, well, do I try to make this the most creative, innovative, whatever it is, and put my heart and soul into this thing for this TV placement? Or do I just make
it people want to hear?
Minutes? Exactly. Or just make it 20 minutes, because that industry is so weird. It's because, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be crazy creative. It could be some simple little jingle, and you can make, bands. You can make a couple grand off a catchy little tune, because I have one of the teachers at the school that I went to, that's what he did for a living. He made jingles, and he makes good money just doing jingles. And he said it could be 5, 10, 20-minute little songs that are or 20-minute little beats that take, a couple seconds even. Even a 30-second ad spot. You can just make bank. So,
well, that's not to interrupt you, but if you pay attention, that's what music has done. You look at the 80s, it was very much, they were trying to build something. They were trying to build up hip-hop. You look at the 70s and 80s, it was all about building hip-hop as far as a community's perspective was. It was the black community's thing. And then in the 90s, it kind of took a shift, because the major industry was starting to realize that, hip-hop's not just a fad. It's going to stay. This is a new genre. We actually have to pay attention to this. And you look at the 2000s, and you have the realization of the fact that this can be commercialized. And now if you look at it, hip-hop's the culture. Hip-hop's not just a genre of music. It's actually a culture. And it's taken the entire world by storm. Everybody wants to get in on it. Asian people, Indian people, all types of different people want to get in on it. And that's the beautiful thing about it. But that's also kind of the downside, because if you look at it now, you have people like 21 Savage, Famous Dex, Lil Uzi Vert, Lil Yachty. And you look at what Lil Yachty just did with Carly Rae Jepsen. They just redid It Takes Two. the famous hit. They just redid that.
I haven't seen that.
No, I haven't seen it, but I heard about it. But the point is that that's what hip hop has turned into. It's turned into a commercial thing. Right now you only have someone up there to tell you what you want to hear and to say, oh yeah, I'm rich, I got money, I got this, I got that.
Hey, so Carly Rae Jepsen, the girl that made that Friday song?
No, that was Rebecca Black.
Yeah,
she did.
Who's Carly Rae Jepsen again?
Call Me Maybe. That's what it was.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, Call Me Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
But it's basically the same thing. Hip hop's turned into your 30-second ad spot. It's a commercial now.
Kuro, it seems as if like you were like pretty affected by like the death of Lord Scooter because you're from Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
You said certain things about like the DMV and why the DMV hasn't got its kind of like shine. So, what do you think about the DMV like, just in general? I guess before the death of Scooter, and then after his death, and I guess the era in which the DMV is in now.
Well, I mean, as far as that goes, you'd have to be from where I'm from to kind of understand it. But you have
Where are you from?
I'm from Baltimore, the
Yeah,
city.
we're from Baltimore.
Oh, okay. So you understand how it works. A
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
people in Baltimore don't really like to claim the DMV. So the whole Laura Scooter thing, it was just really, I don't know, it was weird because the DMV wants to claim him, but also the city's like, no, you can't. So it's kind of a weird thing. But as far as that goes, if you're talking about what I put up on Instagram, that was because I had seen that, a lot of artists from here were really dying. So, that kind of like put me in a position where I was like, wow. I had to sit back because in a couple of months, in a couple of years, whatever, and in some time, I'm gonna be these dudes. I'm gonna be somebody that's actually out there. I'm gonna be a recognizable face and name. So that's gonna put a target on my back, and I'm gonna feel like I can't make it in the place that I was born in. I can't make it with my family. That's it's kind of weird. But as far as it goes, I think the DMV is interesting because artists from here don't really expand.
Mm.
Like they get down with each other. If they, everybody's cousin is a saying I akin it to because it's basically that way. You always have somebody who's like, oh yeah, I know this Laura so and so, or whoever. I have a cousin who knows a ton of Baltimore rappers, and he even knew Scooter. So it's kind of like that. Everybody's got a cousin who knows somebody. And as far as the DMV goes, you have a lot of local artists, but you don't have a lot of national or global artists. And Scooter was kind of one of them, but at the same time, he got way, way, way bigger after he died. And that's kind of what you see with every artist, After you die, that makes whatever you're creating, that just increases the value like tenfold. Because you can never create anything else anymore. So that just increases the value of your art because now
like it finishes off dialogue, it puts a period at the end of the sentence.
Right, it's a limited factor. That's what I was trying to think of.
Mm.
So now you can't just it's kind of like the difference between gasoline and produce. Produce is easy. You can get it anywhere. It's cheap. You could even make it yourself. Gasoline, you have to go to the distributor to get it. You can't just pull up gasoline from an oil well randomly and that's just cool or whatever. No, you have to go directly to the people that have it. So it's kind of like that. While you're alive, you're more a farmer. But after you die, you turn into an oil baron. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. The only thing is after you die, you can't do anything with it. But
you can't, but I mean, it's still your estate.
Right,
so,
right.
Whoever you put in charge of that gets it.
Right.
And that's really good if you've got a good system behind you. But I mean, if you look at Prince's case, look at how many people came up to claim his stuff,
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, it's a double-edged sword.
Right. And I was curious, P Soul, you're from Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and you said before that you didn't want to be pigeonholed, as a rapper, so you kind of did the poetry thing. And I was just curious to know, like, what's the scene like, or what's the feeling like out there? Because, I know, like, you have the Sage Francis's and the atmosphere and, like, the poetry type of thing out there. So is that an influence on you out there?
I mean, not as much. Like, I really don't listen to Atmosphere. The dudes that are from here that I listen to are more like the up and coming guys. Like there's a dude named Juice WRLD out here, and then my guy Kaleem the Dream. Like they're mad talented. They're just graduated high school, and so like I see the potential in these cats, and so that's where I like focus my attention to. And we have a lot of bigger artists out here that are making waves. Like we got Bobby Raps, we got Finding Ovion, we got DJ Tip, who's like going crazy right now. And Bobby Raps just did he got writing credits on the Weeknd's album too. So I mean there's definitely a scene out here, but they're doing more of like the commercial, or they're doing more like the trap stuff. And so it's like it's cool. I can rock with it, but it's just not really my vibe. I just kind of do my own thing. I don't go out. I stay in the studio all day and I'll be by myself most of the time. I got the homies that come through. I got like my 4 or 5 real close people, and that's who I build and create with. I'm all about having super high positive energy, so I got to be real careful who I give that to. So I always just got to surround myself with like-minded creative individuals. So.
What are some of the I guess for both of you, like, when you get down into a session, like what are the things that you have to have around you, or like is there like a particular type of thing that you do, a ritual to get into that vibe?
With me, it's really weird because I have both sides, because I do rap and I do I produce and I produce first. And with that, it wasn't really anything as far as the ritual goes. I just created when I wanted to create. But when I started rapping, I got into that because I was in a group and we needed more rappers. So for me, it was kind of fun at first, and then it started to get a little bit more serious. And I was like, you know what? I'm already serious about my producing career. Why don't I get into rap a little bit more deeply? But around that time, I was already getting older, so I had more and more income readily available. So I think the ritual for me, as far as rap would go, was we would always go to the store. We would always get something, but the main thing we would stay with is Mountain Dew. Oddly enough. But I mean, we did that. We got the Dew, and we went back to the studio and we just got to work. Man, we'd stay in there for hours. Sometimes days. Just creating, bouncing ideas off of each other and everything like that. So I mean, I'm glad I got to come up with all my homies and everything, because it was always, we were always cool. So it wasn't really a group mentality where it was like, I gotta get mine over this person, so I gotta make sure this person doesn't do this. Everybody was fine with working with each other. Like even now, I got homies that's doing work with, people like Triple X Tentacion. Well, I mean, he's in prison now, but I mean, I got homies that's working with them. I got homies that's trying to get work with, a whole bunch of different, like, actual labels and everything. And I have different people everywhere. So it's really interesting. I have, and even to the point where I have the online community, so that just gave me access to so many more people. I'm friends with people in Japan, I'm friends with people in LA, friends with people in Chicago. I mean, these people have different platforms, they have different art forms, they have different styles, and they have different sounds and everything. So I get to see all those different aspects and how they line up with each other, and even how they differentiate. So I mean, it gives me a wider perspective than I would have without it.
That's dope. And what about you, P-Soul?
What's the question again? About like the vibe, like what I need to get started?
Right.
I mean, I'm all about a vibe, man. Like that's why my studio. And you say you've been on my Periscope, so you already know about my light situation. That's always major key. I gotta have the lighting on point. I gotta just set a vibe before I even work. I don't just walk in and just be like, all right, I'm gonna make a beat. Like I gotta put on. I either put on some Dilla, I put on some Madlib, just some real creative stuff. Or if I'm in a certain mood, like lately I've been listening to a lot of like Tame Impala and Mindsign. And so I throw on some stuff like that just to get the juices flowing, and I just vibe for a little bit, and then sometimes I just put on a record, not even a sample, but just to listen to, and just get my mental right. And so that's major for me. I don't really need any kind of, food or anything to alter my creative mind. It's just like, nah, I just give me some good life with some good vibes, and we get to working. So that's where I draw my energy from. Or I just have my homies around. Like sometimes I just be like, yo, like pull up. I'm in the studio, I'm working or whatever it is. Like just come kick it for a couple hours. And they don't even have to say anything. Like, they could just be sitting on the couch in the studio chilling on their phone even. But, like, just the fact that they're there, I can, like, draw a certain type of energy. It's weird. I almost feel like a superhero. I'm like, yo, let me just put you in the studio. I'm going to just draw all your energy out. Like, it's really like that, man. Like, certain people give me certain types of vibes. Like, if I'm trying to be on some weird next level, out of the box creative stuff, I'll call one homie. If I'm trying to be on some mellow stuff, I call another homie up. So it's all different. Each person has their different vibes.
That's an interesting perspective. I didn't necessarily think about that, but yeah, you do draw different vibes from the people that are around you, and whatever you're doing, that's definitely going to make an influence, based off of the person and then your relationship with the person.
Some people be killing vibes too. That's what I tell anybody that comes to my crib. I also have like a very strict policy on who I let into. It's not just because it's my studio. I mean, it's my mom's crib, so I gotta be respectful of that. But in either case, I'm just like, yo, if you come to the studio, don't bring nobody I don't know. Don't bring no extra friends. Like, I have to have a certain type of vibe in here, and it's like, in order, if you want to bring somebody new that I don't know, like, I have to either meet them like beforehand or whatever, or you better be real sure that it's not going to be somebody that I'm going to have to kick out. Because if somebody's here and their vibe isn't on the same wave as what I'm on, I pick up on that so fast. Like, I've had people come through that I've been like, yo, we should link, and then they get here, and then
it's like, nah.
Immediately, I just know that I'm like, yo, this is just not going to work, and I have to kick people out. Because I'm sensitive to that kind of stuff,
Yeah, I'm an artist. I'm sensitive about my shit.
I got
right, that's real. That's your space.
So, but yeah, it's cool though. It's cool. That's just what I need. I just need good, positive energy around me all the time.
That's definitely key.
Yeah, I don't smoke. I don't drink, so I don't want nobody bringing that into my environment either. That's another thing.
Yeah, I don't really need any substances to alter, what I'm thinking or how I'm feeling. I know people who say, oh, I can't write a rap, or I can't freestyle, or I can't do this, I can't do that, unless I'm high, unless I'm drunk, unless I'm this, unless I'm that.
Yeah. The way I see it, if you can't,
and so I mean, that's cool for them.
Sober, I'm like, if you can't create properly sober, then it's not really you that's creating. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got to.
Honestly, that's how I feel, even in general.
Huh?
That's how I feel, even in general. Like, me and Kuro are two different people. So, me as a person, I have my own thoughts. I have my own feelings. But when I get in my creative zone, I'm a whole different person.
Where'd you get that name from?
That comes back to my love of anime. I actually, I loved anime so much that I wanted to understand, Japanese culture a bit more. And even before anime, I actually had an appreciation for Japanese culture in general. So I studied the Japanese language, and as I went along, I always came back to the same word, kuro. It means black. So I thought it was kind of interesting. I came up with the name before I actually became an artist. So I mean, I had the name for like a good year or so before I even became an artist, and I just thought, I was a kid back then, so I was like, oh yeah, Kuro Silence, that sounds kind of cool, or it sounds catchy or whatever. And when I really put thought into it, I was like, I can actually draw a whole lot of actual inspiration from it. Black silence, that could be death, that could be solitude, that could be, you just thinking, it means a whole lot, and still it means nothing at the same time.
That's pretty interesting.
I want to go to just. That's on my list of places to go.
Yeah, that'd be a good. Yeah, that'd be a dope market for both of you, especially piggybacking off of projects like the Samurai Shin comic and everything. Are you guys working on the second soundtrack?
I submitted everything for it.
Okay.
All my work is already there. If they call me back, I'm gonna get more for them. But I mean,
now, have you guys ever like talked before?
Nah, I don't think we've ever like talked on the phone or anything like that.
Nah. Everybody on the project actually just works through. Everybody works through the representatives of Samurai Shin, so it's not like we have contact with each other. It's just everybody puts their work into it, and what comes out just comes out. But I mean, now that you mention it, I think that actually would kind of help with the creative process. We get to know each other, and we get to understand each other better. We probably work a whole lot better.
That's what's up.
I typically don't like doing projects if I'm not like 150% invested into, what's actually going on. So it's like the way that this project is coming together is real weird for me too, because I'm usually like, yo, all right, like I'm gonna just lock in for a few months and we just go back and forth every day, just give all these crazy ideas and all that stuff. But I don't know, it just kind of happened, and we were rolling with it, and everything seemed smooth. And so, I mean, that's just how the communication's been. But I think I've also had other situations similar to this too, and I think at some point it's gonna come around full circle. And when that happens, then it'll all make sense. Like I had a dude I worked with, he was in LA, and like we had did a couple records together, and we had talked every once in a while on Twitter, and just some like random little conversations. One time I was in LA, and I was like, you know what? Let me pull up on you real quick. And so went down, got in the studio session with him. Like we were in a session for like 6 hours and just got crazy work done. And from there, like me and him have been super tight. Like we talk almost every day now. So it's just a matter of actually getting in the same room with people, especially because, everybody lives in a different place and in a different country. So it's like, it's kind of tough to be all on one accord in that sense, But it'll work out. It'll work around.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because, after we set this interview up, we realized, they probably don't know each other. So I'm glad, everything worked out, pretty dope, man.
Well, I mean, it's all about it's all about working with real artists, If you're not working with somebody who respects the art form, they're probably not going to respect you as an artist, and not even themselves.
Right.
So, I mean, you kind of have to be aware of that.
I know we got similar interests and stuff like that. We're all like-minded creative individuals, so it wouldn't be too far-fetched to say that we would still get along regardless. It's not like I'm trying to be all Hollywood, being like, all right, well, I only got this time. If you ain't asking me questions about this, don't ask me that. You know what I'm saying? I ain't like that. It's all about life. So
that's what tripped me out, because I had actually seen work that you did, P-So, before I even hopped on the Samurai Shin. So when Michael told me we were here, I was like, wow, you got somebody that I actually recognize from the whole community and everything. I was like, wow, that's interesting. I thought, you being as big as you were, I figured it was going to be a thing where it was like, you weren't really going to want to mess with an artist like me, because
I'm just a regular person, bro.
I feel the same way.
But you're P-So. Oh, you got all these numbers and all these video views. And I'm like, look, man, it's just a number. Like it it's not gonna change how I act as a person. Like if I vibe with you, I vibe with you. Like you know what I'm saying? I'm not here to be all about politicking with people and trying to act like I'm holier than thou. Like it's the same when I go and I meet these people that I looked up to. Like just last 2 summers ago, I went to a festival. I was kicking it with Earl Sweatshirt, and I was like, yo, like. He's just a normal dude, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's what I had to learn about the whole industry. You know, it was weird because I came up like right at the point where SoundCloud was about to lose its popularity, but it was really booming when I came into it. So you know, I got to work with a whole bunch of people that I used to look up to when I started. So I thought that it was going to be a thing where it was going to be like, oh yeah, you know. I'm so-and-so, I'm this and I'm that. And I mean, sometimes you do get that, but a lot of the times it's like P-So said, you know, they're regular people. They're cool, you know? And once you get to see that, you recognize that it's not really as much as people pump it up to be.
See, the thing that's weird about the music industry, though, is, like, it's kind of hard to get into it. But once you get into it, you realize literally everybody knows everybody. It is not as big as you think it is. Like,
oh, that's true.
Two people that you would think are on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, like Young Thug and like Stevie Wonder. They probably like best friends. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
like I mean, it was crazy for me because like especially last year and this year, I came up a whole lot and I met a whole lot of people. And now, you know, I'm one step away from, you know, big artists like Isaiah Rashad or Kendrick Lamar. I've even had casual conversations with, you know, Punch, the president of Top Dog Entertainment, and Top Dog himself. So, I mean, you know, it's all a matter of just you have to get past the fact that there's a famous aspect to it.
Yeah. And that's what catches people up most of the time. Cause like I'm going to Dallas in a couple of days here for like a real big situation, and like part of the reason I haven't really told anybody about it is because even like my real close homies that I tell that are like they've seen my progress, like they know the moves that I make. Even when I tell them, like they bug out, and I'm like, yo, if y'all are bugging out about it, I don't even want to know what the people outside that have nothing to even do with what I'm doing are going to be on. So it's just like, right. I don't know where I was going with that, but oh well.
You have to be aware of it. No, I get you.
Yeah.
For me, I'm just starting to see a little bit of success. So for me, I still do bug out when like something big happens because I'm like, you know, wow. And I have to come back down. I have to collect myself. I have to remember, you know, this is nothing, you know. It's not really hard to get where you're at if you're in there.
Mm-hmm. And it's not to say that there's anything wrong with being excited, but you just have to realize, you just have to, I guess you have to be aware of how you're approaching it. Because if you have an opportunity and you come to them as a fan first, that can kill your whole shot right there. You know? Yeah.
Because then they're gonna know that you're not well versed in your area.
It's just like, hey, you ain't never been around no famous people before. You know what I'm saying?
Right. You know, you don't have any experience with it.
I think I seen something like that on Schoolboy Q's that he was saying something about like if you come to the studio, act like you've been around some famous people before, we're gonna clown you because you acting weird. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, it's like there's always got to be that balance between. It's like you have to know how to balance coming at them as a fan, coming at them as a business person, and then coming at them as a human. So if you can find that happy medium between all three of those things, then you're golden.
Yeah, I had to have kind of a moment with myself like that when I went to go see Anderson .Paak, because he did a concert last June or July. I can't remember what it was, but I had actually released a project that same day. So, you know, I kind of was like, you know what, hold up, let me go ahead and take this to him. So I did that, and I gave him the project, but I think I kind of came off as kind of like a fan, and it wasn't until I looked back at it where I was like, oh, crap, I really messed that up.
Yeah,
I was just excited to see it, dude. I was like, you know, you're really coming up, you're really doing a whole lot. and it was kind of like a congratulatory thing, but it kind of came off as kind of being a fan.
Yeah, and I feel that because this past summer, I went to Soundset, and I don't know if you know about the Soundset Festival lineup this past, summer, but oh my goodness, from top to bottom, I think that's honestly like the most incredible set list I've seen on an event period in a very long time. And so, I think it was like ASAP and Future headline, but they had like everybody from the Roots to SZA to it was Nick Jenkins was there. Who else? It was crazy. Like, we'll just say that. And so Ninth Wonder and Merge were performing as well. And I had known somebody close to Ninth, like one of his students, and like we and her had talked and trying to set something up because I know he was coming. So I had a bunch of beats I threw on the thumb drive. And so he was doing like a meet and greet or whatever, and I was waiting in line, you know what I'm saying? I was trying to talk to him. I was like, yo, I'm a big fan, and I know one of your people, and they said that you were going to be expecting me. I got this, this little thumb drive to give you some beats or whatever. And long story short, I met Ninth and Murray, and I totally came off as a fan. And I was like, dang, I shouldn't have done that. But,
that sounds exactly like my whole situation right now. But I mean, I got something kind of similar coming up because Isaiah Rashad, he's coming to Soundstage in April, and I got tickets there. So, no, it's just he's on tour, so he's doing the show.
Oh, okay.
And he's coming out to Soundstage.
Okay, downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I'm fairly certain he's going to do a meet and greet there, and so I hope that I don't come off as a fan to him there. Because I'm actually kind of familiar with TDE, and I actually, I'm cool. I'm not cool with them personally, but I'm cool with, people that they've worked with, and I'm cool with artists that are related to them. So, I kind of just want to complete the circle, because it's like when your friends have friends, you want to meet them too, and you kind of want to make sure that you're all friends, so that you don't cross any lines, you don't, mess up anything with your friends already.
If I can give you some advice, bro, what I would do, honestly, if you're meeting somebody for the first time that you look up to, I mean, I'm starting to do this now, too, just because I've had a couple chances, and I've screwed a couple chances up. But, like, if you're meeting somebody for the first time that you look up to, I wouldn't even bring up music at all. Like, I wouldn't even talk to them about anything that I'm working on or nothing. Like, you got to come at them like a human first, really. And I mean, if y'all are vibing and it just happens to come up and they're like, yo, what you do? You know what I'm saying? Then that's different. But yeah. I would just start a good conversation and just find something similar to talk about that's not what they're already talking about every single day. Like if you talk about anime,
I noticed that with the Anderson thing.
Yeah, it's just like if you bring up anime and they're like, yo, I love anime. Like, what's your favorite cartoon? Like your favorite thing? And then you go from there, then it's cool. It's a vibe. They'll remember that. But they got so many people talking to them about music every day that you're just going to blend in the crowd of another person that's talking about music. Yeah,
and that was something that I realized at the Anderson .Paak thing, because it was like, I thought that I was going to be, I thought I was going to be the only artist there that was giving them a project. So it was like, I released a project today. I'm doing all right. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And it was literally a dude right behind me in line who was doing the same exact thing. I don't think he released a project that day. But I mean, he was doing this. He had the same exact plan as me. And that's when I realized, I was like, maybe I shouldn't have done this.
Yeah, it happens, man. These people probably get hundreds of things every day, and that's just physical. So you don't even want to know how many DMs and tweets, and all of that.
Oh no, because I've had homies that have actually blown up, and they told me about it. It was really crazy because it was like one day they was just a regular dude. They would get regular DMs and everything, and they get signed to a label or they get this or they get that or whatever, and then it just all of a sudden. Messages off out of nowhere.
Man. Yeah, man, it be like that, man. It's really crazy out here. People are hungry for opportunities, but not everybody knows how to go about it the right way. That's
I mean, I've even lost friends over it, I had dudes that like got really to an international level. It was just like they cut off communication because they just couldn't handle talking to everybody like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I had no intention to. I had no. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was saying I would hate to be that person, but I could see why sometimes it would be necessary.
Oh no, definitely.
Like me, I had the same numbers since like 6th grade, and so something happens overnight and whatever, and let's say tomorrow morning I wake up with a $10 million record deal. You think my phone ain't gonna be ringing off the hook?
Oh, it definitely is. And with me, it was like I wanted to hit him up just to help the dude expand. You know, I wasn't even tripping off of the fact that it was like, oh, now you're international, because I already had homies who were doing well. So him, I was just hitting them up to be like, hey, yo, you need to get on this. You need to get on this. You need to get on this. You know, you need to put your stuff here. You need to get this together. So, when actual venues came at him or whatever, he actually had everything set up, but he just never got back to me. And, I put in some work for him because it was a site, I can't remember what it's called. But basically, it lets you set up yourself so that when live venues come to check reviews and everything of you out, you would actually have work up there. So I added him as an artist on there, and I told him about it. He never got back to me. So I just set his whole page up for him, and I just left it at that. Because I'd already done the same thing for myself, and I already knew how it was. So it was just like, even if he's not going to get back to me, he's still a homie. He's still cool. If he hits me back up, I'm still cool with him. That's still my bro. So I'm still going to go ahead and I'm still going to go hard. I'm still going to do that work for him.
Yeah, even it goes back to having positive energy. Like, never be bitter. Just say, oh, I had a part in that and that's dope. And, keep it moving and doing your own thing.
Right.
Right. So go ahead.
And I mean, if you do what you need to do and you get to where they got, you're definitely going to see them again.
Mm-hmm.
You're definitely going to have another opportunity to talk to them. So it's not even like anything that you need to trip off of.
Yeah. So I guess in closing, you guys dropped a lot of game right there. So any up and coming artists out there, this is how you deal with people when you see them out. But I guess in closing, what do you guys have up next? Like, what's the next project on the horizon that you guys are working on? And when can we, look for that, and where can we reach you?
Well, I have 2 projects out now. I got one called Black Tape, one called Something About Love I dropped recently, and that's both on my Bandcamp and also my SoundCloud. I think I might even have both of them on YouTube as well. I know I got at least one on YouTube. And then as far as music goes, I don't know if I'm doing another project right this second. But once I get back from this trip, I'm going to have a real big announcement that I'm probably going to make on all my social media outlets about some of the music. So, just that. And you want me to plug social media too?
Right. Where can I follow you?
At _poetic thoughts. That's my Twitter. Expressive Mind, XPRESSIVE Mind on Instagram. I'm likely going to be changing that soon anyway to streamline everything. But Bandcamp, I think it's bandcamp.com/Piso. If you just look up Piso, you'll find me. Like, I'm not too hard to find. So that's my spiel.
Okay, and you, Kuro?
It's pretty much the same. Just look up Kuro Silence. As far as projects go, I stay working. So I mean, I think I got like maybe 15 plus projects out. So I mean, you just honestly Google Kuro Silence, KURO, and Silence, and you'll find everything for me. I got artist pages everywhere. I got different music pages everywhere. So I mean, it's like P Soul said, it's not really hard to find me if you know my name.
Right.
Yeah. That's what's up, man. Well, thank you guys both for coming and doing this interview. It was definitely an experience where I learned a lot, just on the production level to the artist level to actually, how to meet and greet and the social level. And it's good that you guys got to, get together and actually talk. So it's like mad cool experience, man.
Yeah. I'm actually about to follow let me see. How am I gonna get a hold of you too on I don't know if I follow you on Twitter or anything.
Right, we're
just go through Google. Y'all Channel 10, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Channel 10 Podcast.
Right,
channel10podcast.com. Kuro Silence. We got Peace Soul. It's me, the Almighty AR. It's our tick everywhere. Send God Superior. SendGodSuperior.com. And we're going to make some things happen. And with that, we out. Peace.
Peace.
Feeling is here.
Yeah, son, you feel it, man. Word up, son. You gotta just do it, yo.
CNN.
Yo, word up, man. It's a different channel, son. Word up, on, man. Word up, watch the channel, son. Different plane now, man.
It's all good.
Word up, all good, baby, in every hood, son. Word up, yo.
CNN, Network, Channel 10, it's on again. Street niggas is grown men. Bold face, gat in your face. Stay in place, yo, crime lace. Cats more beef than Scarface. CNN, Network, Channel 10, it's on again. Street niggas that's grown men. Bold face, gat in your face. Stay in place, yo, crime lace. Cats more beef.